I was 21 back then, and he was the guy who knew how to unjam a garbage disposal without breaking a sweat. First green flag, or so it seemed. We swapped Instagrams, started texting back and forth, and, well, one thing led to another. The last 3 years? Honestly, they were mostly solid. We had a good thing going, our own little rhythm. Thursday nights meant Netflix documentaries, every other Sunday was dinner at his mom's place, and summers were for camping trips with his buddies. He always remembered my birthday, actually listened when I rambled about my day, which, let's be real, is practically unheard of nowadays. Quick side note, my ex before him thought emotional labor was some kind of medical procedure, so yeah, my standards were practically buried 6 feet under. Fast forward to this past Tuesday. I'm sitting in the break room on my lunch, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, when it pings with a text from my friend Sienna. Just a TikTok link and a big fat "call me now" in all caps. Now, Sienna isn't the type to be extra. She once called her apartment literally flooding a slight issue, so when she freaks, I listen. I tapped the link, and there he was. Logan. At Throwbacks, that grimy little bar he and his crew always hit on Monday nights. I recognized it immediately, mostly because of that busted neon Budweiser sign in the back that flickers every 7 seconds. We actually counted once while waiting on wings. Logan was clearly hammered, red in the face, arm draped around his buddy Caleb. Someone off camera shouts, "So, rate your girlfriend, bro." And that's when I saw it, his whole face shifted. It wasn't his regular, goofy smile. It was something colder, like he was letting the room in on some twisted inside joke. Maya? Honestly, she's probably the ugliest girl I've ever dated. Like a 4 on her best day. The whole bar lost it, you could hear the even over the crappy phone mic someone else shouted, "Savage," and Logan just laughed like it was the funniest thing he'd ever said. Then he kept going, "But hey, she makes bomb enchiladas and doesn't nag when I hang with the boys, so I keep her around. Real low maintenance, you know?" Someone else chimed in, asking if he was worried I'd see the video. Logan's response? "Nah, she's clueless about TikTok. Besides, I've been thinking about upgrading anyway. She's got too much baggage." I checked the timestamp. It was posted at 11:43 p.m. Monday night, while I was at home, wearing a clay mask, texting him goodnight like a damn fool. The video had already blown up, 177,000 views, 17,000 likes. I just sat there, frozen, staring at my phone. Didn't cry. Didn't yell. I just felt this icy, sinking feeling take over my whole chest. 3 years together, and this was how he really saw me? Just the night before, he'd been at my place. We'd made dinner, talked about maybe moving in together when my lease ended in August. He kissed me goodnight, told me he loved me, like none of it meant anything. And here he was, trashing me to a bunch of strangers like I was some throwaway joke. I texted Sienna back, "Coming over after work. Don't tell anyone." Then I silenced all my notifications, tossed my phone in my bag, and somehow pushed through 3 more client meetings without breaking down. Funny how autopilot kicks in when your world's falling apart. After work, I didn't even think about going home. I hit Target instead, grabbed a cheap duffel bag, stuffed it with whatever basics I could think of, toothbrush, deodorant, phone charger, a couple t-shirts. Spent exactly $47.16, the receipt still tucked into my wallet like some weird little trophy. I pulled into Sienna's apartment complex at 6:13 p.m., parked, and just sat there for a good 20 minutes, staring out the windshield, playing that video over and over in my head. I kept thinking about all those times Logan told me I looked beautiful. At the Christmas party when I wore that sparkly dress. When I had the flu last winter and looked like death warmed over. Even just 3 weeks ago at the beach, when I was panicking about wearing a bikini. Was it all just lies? Or stuff you say because it's easier than the truth? When I finally made it upstairs, Sienna didn't pepper me with questions. She just pointed at her pull-out couch, handed me a glass of that cheap rose we lived on in college, and asked, "What's the plan?" And that's when it hit me. I'm not giving Logan a breakup scene he can brag about later. No yelling, no crying, no dramatic how could you moment he could turn into a funny story for his friends. I was just going to vanish. We spent that night putting together a game plan. First move, block Logan on everything, phone, Instagram, Twitter, all of it. Second, change every password he might know. Third, call out of work for the rest of the week. And finally, only tell my mom where I actually was. No one else. By midnight, Logan had already sent 7 texts. Normal stuff at first, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" and "Still coming over." By morning, it turned into "Where are you?" and "Why aren't you answering?" By afternoon, he'd called 12 times. Not once did he mention the TikTok. Not even a hint of an apology. I holed up at Sienna's place through Wednesday and Thursday. We binged Love Island, because sometimes trash TV is the only thing that makes sense when your life's on fire. I cried in the shower when she couldn't hear, and we stress ate so much Uber Eats it's embarrassing. Friday morning, Sienna swung by my apartment to grab more clothes. She said Logan had definitely been there, empty Monster cans on the counter, his jacket tossed over my couch. He even left a note taped to my front door, "Call me. We need to talk." Still no mention of what we might need to talk about. Like I hadn't already seen it with my own eyes. By Thursday night, the TikTok had quietly disappeared from Logan's account. Too little, way too late. The video had already been screen recorded and passed around like gossip candy in our friend group. My phone kept blowing up with "Are you okay?" texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. That whole weekend was a blur. Ignoring unknown numbers, because Logan had clearly started using his buddies' phones once he realized I'd blocked him, and jumping out of my skin every time someone knocked at Sienna's door. Got it, you want this part changed much more, not just reworded, but more reimagined while still keeping same core events and meaning. Same conversational, first-person tone, casual American guy/gal. A little expanded where natural. Still feeling very real and natural for AI voicing. Here's the much more changed version of the section you flagged. Lena, remember her from my old community college days? Slid into my DMs with a bunch of screenshots from Logan's Instagram stories. There he was, posting sad little quotes about regret and losing the best thing he ever had, complete with moody song lyrics in the background. Straight up textbook damage control if I've ever seen it. By Sunday night, I had 26 missed calls lighting up my phone. When Monday morning rolled around, that number had jumped to 32. I finally pulled myself together enough to go back to work on Monday. The second I walked into the salon, my manager gave me a tight, kind of awkward hug, the kind you give someone when you don't really know what to say. Apparently, even she had seen the TikTok. She told me to take another day if I needed, but I shook my head. What I really needed was something, anything, to make me feel like a normal human being again. Of course, normal didn't last long. During my lunch break, guess who showed up? Logan. I saw him walk in from across the salon floor and immediately ducked into the supply closet like a criminal. One of my coworkers told him I wasn't there, and I stood frozen behind a rack of paper towels, listening to the low, tired sound of his voice just outside the door. Once, that voice was my favorite sound in the world. Now, it made my skin crawl. Good, I thought. Let him be tired. By Tuesday morning, exactly a week since my life blew up, the number of missed calls had climbed to 37. His last text just said, "Please." No context. No explanation. Just desperation. I needed to swing by my place to grab a package that required a signature. I figured early morning would be safe, Logan always left for work by 7:30 a.m. Turns out, I figured wrong. I unlocked my door and there he was, sitting right on my welcome mat. The same one he gave me when we first moved in, the one that says home is where the Wi-Fi connects automatically. He looked up when he heard my keys jingle. Y'all, he looked rough. Like rock bottom, slept in his car rough. Patchy stubble, dark circles, same wrinkled Metallica t-shirt from 2 days ago. The second he saw me, it was like someone hit the off switch on his body. He just crumpled to the floor. No theatrics, no fake drama, like his legs just gave out and he had nothing left to hold him up. Tears streaming down his face, saying my name over and over like it was some kind of prayer. I just stood there with my hand still on the door handle, feeling absolutely nothing. Then too much. Then numb again. Maya, please, he cried, his voice cracking. I don't know why I said those things. I was drunk, the guys were egging me on. I didn't mean a word of it. Just talk to me, please. I didn't even hesitate. I cut him off mid-sob. I saw exactly what you think of me, Logan. There's nothing left to say. I stepped around him like he was nothing more than a puddle on the floor, grabbed my mail off the counter, and walked straight back to my car without once looking back. He chased after me into the parking lot, still crying, still begging, making promises he couldn't keep. I climbed into my car, slammed the door shut, locked it, and peeled out of there before he could throw himself in front of my tires. By the time I made it back across town to Sienna's, he had already called 5 more times. And that, my friends, brings us to now. It's been exactly 8 days, 4 hours, and 22 minutes since my life got flipped inside out by a stupid TikTok. Since I found out the man I thought I would marry saw me as nothing more than a placeholder. I don't know what's supposed to happen next. Part of me, the dumb, broken-hearted part, still misses him. Misses the comfort, the familiarity, the stupid rituals we built together. But every time that little voice pipes up, I remember the way he said hideous. The way he said upgrade. Like it was just casual small talk. 3 years, and that's all I was worth to him. At exactly 9:17 p.m., the doorbell at Sienna's place rang. We both froze like fugitives caught red-handed. I swear, for a second, neither of us even breathed. Sienna crept to the peephole and peeked out. It was Logan. Standing there, clutching a pitiful bouquet of wilted grocery store flowers that looked about as sad as he did. Without missing a beat, Sienna shifted into full mama bear mode. She cracked the door open just enough to block the view inside and told him flat out I wasn't there. I heard his voice, low, shaky, begging her for just 5 minutes. He said he hadn't slept in days. Said he'd dropped 7 pounds. Said he'd do anything, anything at all, to make this right. Sienna held firm. Eventually, he gave up and shuffled off down the hallway. But when we opened the door later, there it was, the letter. Handwritten. 8 full pages. Front. And. Back. Yeah. I read it. Twice, actually. The letter was a mess, tear-streaked, frantic, desperate. It had all the classics. I was drunk. My friends egged me on. I had a bad day at work. Basically, he hit deflection bingo in the first 3 paragraphs. But one line hit differently. I said those awful things because I'm terrified you'll realize you're too good for me. And for about 20 minutes, embarrassingly enough, I actually considered picking up the phone. This man had publicly humiliated me for the entertainment of his drunk buddies, and somehow, I was the one sitting there feeling guilty for him? Luckily, Sienna's Wi-Fi decided to crash right about then, thanks to Xfinity, so we couldn't distract ourselves with Netflix. Instead, we ended up scrolling through old photos on my phone. That's when it hit me hard. Photo after photo from the last year, it was the same story. I'm beaming at him, full heart in my eyes. And him? He's looking off at his phone. Or making some dumb face. Or staring at anything, except me. Not once was he looking at me the way I was looking at him. How the hell had I missed that? Friday morning, new twist. My brother Diego called. Apparently, Logan had shown up at his apartment at 7 in the damn morning asking if he knew where I was. Diego, being Diego, threatened to rearrange Logan's face if he pulled that stunt again. A little dramatic? Maybe. But honestly, the loyalty was nice. By then, though, Logan's endless attempts at contact weren't feeling romantic anymore. They were starting to feel smothering. Like a wet blanket I couldn't shake off. So I finally did what I'd been putting off. I drafted a text. Short. Firm. No loopholes. I need space. Please stop contacting me, my friends, and my family. I'll reach out if, and only if, I want to talk. Sent it at exactly 10:22 a.m. Turned off my phone immediately afterward, because honestly, I couldn't deal with whatever he was going to say. When I turned it back on 3 hours later, there it was, a wall of 5 long paragraphs. The first few were him promising he respected my boundaries, would wait forever if he had to. And right after that? 3 more texts asking if forever could maybe end next week over coffee. So much for respecting space. Honestly? The weekend was peaceful. First peace I'd felt in weeks. Sienna's roommate Lena was out of town visiting her family, so we had the whole apartment to ourselves. We lived like teenagers again, ordering pizza, doing face masks, binge-watching all 3 Magic Mike movies under the thin excuse of studying the plot. I went a full 24 hours without even looking at my phone. It felt like breathing real air after being stuck underwater too long. But peace never lasts, does it? Sunday night, I made the mistake of scrolling Instagram before bed. And there it was. Logan had posted a video. Not just any video. A full-blown, 4-minute and 27-second public apology. Tagged me right in it, too. It was him, sitting in his car, talking straight into the camera with these sad, puffy eyes. Saying he was sorry. Saying he regrets hurting the most beautiful person inside and out he's ever known. Saying he's learning, growing, trying to be better. The comments were a dumpster fire. Some people fell for it, calling him brave for taking accountability. Barf. Others dragged him for making my pain into his performance piece. Even Caleb chimed in, "Stay strong, bro," like Logan was the victim here. I couldn't sleep after that. All I could think about was how even now, even at his supposed rock bottom, he was curating it for the internet. Staged lighting. Carefully timed upload, 8 p.m. Sunday, prime engagement hours. It wasn't about me. It was still about him. Monday morning, I knew it was time to leave Sienna's. She'd been incredible, but I couldn't hide forever. Plus, her hot water heater had been on strike all weekend, and cold showers in February? Absolutely not. As I was tossing clothes back into my duffel bag, my phone buzzed. Venmo notification. Logan had sent me $300 with the note. For the anniversary dinner we'll never have. Our 3-year anniversary was supposed to be next week. I sent the money back immediately and blocked him on Venmo for good measure. The drive back to my apartment felt like walking into a test I hadn't studied for. Every red light, I kept checking my mirrors, half expecting Logan's car to pop up behind me like a horror movie. But when I pulled into the lot, nothing. No Logan. My neighbor, sweet old Mrs. Whitman, gave me a polite nod like I hadn't basically ghosted for 2 weeks. Inside, the air smelled stale, tinged with rotten leftovers I'd forgotten to toss. All my plants? Dead. Even the impossible-to-kill snake plant had given up on me. The whole place felt weird, like a life I had already outgrown but hadn't packed up yet. And then I saw them. Post-it notes. Everywhere. One on the bathroom mirror. I miss your smile. One stuck to the fridge. Remember our first kiss here? Another on the TV. Our Netflix queue misses you. Tiny, desperate breadcrumbs. As if a handful of sticky notes could erase everything that came before. On my nightstand, sitting there like a ghost, was one last sticky note. I can't sleep without you. I just stood there, heart hammering against my ribs, realizing what had happened. Logan still had the spare key I'd given him last year. While I was gone, while I was trying to breathe and get my head right, he had let himself into my apartment. The thought made my skin crawl. It felt like someone had walked into my chest, rifled through my ribs, and left the door wide open. I tore through every inch of that place, checking closets, flinging open the shower curtain, even getting down on the floor to look under the bed, half convinced he was hiding somewhere, waiting. He wasn't. But honestly, him not being there didn't make me feel any less violated. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and called my landlord. Explained everything, the spare key, the break-in without a break. He promised he'd send someone first thing in the morning to change the locks. After that, I went room to room, peeling off every sticky note Logan had left behind, one by one, ripping them into tiny pieces like it would somehow shred the memory, too. Petty? Probably. Therapeutic? Absolutely. That night was my first night back in my own bed. I won't pretend it was some triumphant, peaceful homecoming either. It was weird. Uncomfortable. I kept waking up, half expecting to feel Logan's familiar weight on the mattress, the dip of him rolling over, the soft snore he always denied having. My brain hadn't caught up yet to the fact that he was gone, and that he wasn't coming back. Tuesday morning, just yesterday, I was making my coffee, trying to start fresh, when there was a knock at the door. For a split second, my heart jumped into my throat, pure panic. But then I remembered, Logan's key wouldn't work anymore. When I opened the door, it wasn't Logan standing there. It was Caleb. Yeah. That Caleb. The same one who had been laughing right alongside Logan in that TikTok. The same one I used to call a friend, long before I ever knew Logan even existed. He stood there on my porch, shifting awkwardly from foot to foot, trying to act casual. Started with some pointless small talk about the weather, seriously, like he hadn't been part of the most humiliating moment of my life. Eventually, he got to the real reason he was there. Logan was in a really bad place, he said. He just wanted 5 minutes to explain himself. I looked Caleb dead in the eye and asked him if he remembered laughing in that video. He flinched, just a little. Had the decency to look embarrassed, to glance down at his shoes like a guilty kid. I was drunk, he mumbled. Everyone was just joking around. You know how guys are. I just stood there. Not yelling. Not crying. Just tired. Because that's the thing, isn't it? I do know how some guys are. And I don't want to date one. I don't want to waste another second with someone who thinks it's funny to tear me down when I'm not there to defend myself. I don't want to be with someone who only realizes what he had after he's already destroyed it in front of half the internet. So I thanked Caleb politely, like I was ending a bad job interview, and told him I hoped Logan would get the help he needed. Then I closed the door. And for the first time in weeks, I actually meant it. That night, I did what I should have done weeks ago. I went through my phone and scrubbed Logan from every part of my life. Unfollowed him on every platform. Took down every photo of us that still clung to my apartment walls. Packed up the hoodie he always left at my place, the one that still smelled faintly like his cologne, and the spare Xbox controller he swore he couldn't live without. Tossed it all into a box and shoved it into the back of my closet. Out of sight. Maybe not out of mind yet, but it was a start. Afterward, I ordered dinner from the spicy Thai place Logan always whined about, the one I loved but never suggested because I didn't feel like dealing with his complaints. I ate it right there on the couch, spicy tears and all, while watching The Last of Us, a zombie show he refused to watch because he hated scary stuff. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like the only voice I needed to listen to was my own. Around midnight, just when I was starting to feel a little lighter, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message said, "It's Logan." Please don't block this number. I just need to know one thing, did those 3 years mean anything to you? Because they were everything to me. I sat there staring at that message for a long, long time. 3 years. 3 years of birthday surprises, inside jokes, Sunday mornings tangled up in bedsheets and grocery runs we always made together. 3 years of thinking I had found someone who would love me the way I deserved. But also, 3 years of tiny digs wrapped up as jokes. 3 years of swallowing my hurt to keep the peace. 3 years of slowly, quietly making myself smaller so I wouldn't outgrow him. I didn't reply. Just blocked the number and turned off my phone. This morning, I did something I hadn't done in almost 3 weeks. I made a plan for myself. Nothing reactionary. Nothing based on hiding or hurting or surviving. Just a real plan for a normal day. But of course, nothing stays simple for long. As I was about to leave to grab coffee, I made the mistake of checking Instagram. And there it was. Logan had changed his profile picture to a photo of us, taken last summer at his cousin's wedding. My head resting on his shoulder, both of us smiling like we had the whole world ahead of us. It shouldn't have hit me as hard as it did. It shouldn't have mattered. But it did. Because for all the hurt, for all the betrayal, a part of me still remembered loving that version of us, the version I thought was real. For now, I'm taking it one breath, one step, one stubborn heartbeat at a time. And holding on to something my grandma always said. Sometimes the trash doesn't need to be taken out, it just walks itself to the curb.